Hi everyone, this morning we're down here at Charleville Soccer Club and we're joined by Eddy O'Shaughnessy and Eugene Bowles, and the boys are going to give us a background to the club and all that kind of stuff. So, hi lads, good morning.
Morning.
Eddie, how you doing?
Yeah, good to be here, yeah.
Yeah, good. Officially, I suppose the club was formed in 1968, but I suppose just to maybe go back before that, like who was playing soccer around here before that? Do you remember?
Well, there was, I suppose unofficially, there was always soccer being played. A lot of it tended to be played up the land. The lads up the land had a bit of a league on themselves, and they used to play a town league.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until 1968 that officially the club was formed.
Yeah. I suppose there was a lot of lads around the town that would have had an interest playing. Like I suppose there were street leagues in hurling as well, and football, and they were doing something similar.
Exactly, yeah. And I mean, obviously, people were following what was going on in the leagues in England and the League of Ireland. So I suppose the natural thing was to put a club together here as a result. You know?
Yeah. And I suppose, Eugene, unlike now where we have TV and the internet and all that, I suppose for fellas that were interested in soccer back then, it was very hard to follow it, I suppose, in a way.
Oh, would have been like, I mean, Jesus, trying to watch. I mean, the FA Cup final was the big thing when we were growing up, because there wasn't many matches on television. RT used to show a match at 3 o'clock on a Saturday, and it didn't matter who was playing. You wanted to see it, like, obviously we all had our own teams like that you wanted to be on. But growing up, like, and even when I first started playing, like, I was 9, but there was no under 10s, no under 9s, no under 8s, no under 11s. It was under 12s. So you had to wait your turn to try and get in the team, like. So it was different times, like.
Right,
and you'd only the even age groups, like it was 12s, 14s, 16s, and 18s.
And
so
you mentioned about a game, and the only, I suppose, TV that you might see would be Match of the Day of a Saturday night.
Match of the Day, and even I remember, like, we had the old aerial at home, and it was the funny picture, and you were trying to get a glimpse of even the BBC News at 10 o'clock might show a couple of goals, and that's the way it was. And
there was no pause and rewind either.
Oh, Jesus, no.
You saw it the one night, or you didn't see it at all.
You did, that's the way it was, like. So I know, I mean, even like you said there, I mean, back in the early days, like, I mean, I remember hearing, like, the club's first. The reason we're red is we got a set of gear off Limerick City. A red playing kit off Limerick City that they used to play a European game. And that's the reason the club was red.
Does that have to do with Cork?
No, it's actually funny enough. It was Limerick's away kit they used in a European game. And that was back in the late 60s.
I'd say if we dug around, Dave, you might have them somewhere.
They were probably wearing them until the 80s. They were probably wearing them until the 80s, maybe.
Right.
That's the way it was, like, you know. We all had hand-downs, like, there was no new jerseys every year.
No, Jesus, no. Eddie,
we had Match of the Day reminds me, we had a thing, it was a fundraiser, just to let you know how bad things were with getting football on the telly. We had a guy in Dublin that used to record Match of the Day on a Saturday night, and he put it on a VHS video tape and put it on the train, and on Monday we'd pick it up at the railway station on Monday, and we'd go down to John O'Malley's that night, and we'd charge 50 pence going in, and we'd pack the place. Everybody wanted to watch, obviously, Match of the Day, but that was the only way we had of showing it. That's just to tell you how the way the game or TV has progressed in the meantime, you know.
When did you start? What introduced you to soccer, Eddie, or who was your influence?
Well, I was playing under 4. I was part of the Charleville football team. We won the under-14 North Cork final. I remember the same year that Chelsea were in the cup final over.
Right.
They beat Leeds in a replay, and I saw that game, and that was it. That was me then. That was my game from then on. Then I was 14 at that stage. So I was interested.
Who was the, like, when you came down first? So, like, who was here at the time? Who was training? Who was looking after the club?
Well, people like Joe Kavanagh now, obviously, and Dave Shanahan has been with the club for centuries. Jeremiah Farrell, people like that.
50 years, Dave, he's with the club. He's
still going strong. And still involved. He's one of the real stalwarts of the club, of course. But it was different times. Like we played that time in the park. And we'd no facilities. We had the pitch itself, the 2 goals. That was about the size of it. But we used to tug out in. There was a hut over which be over in the car park now maybe.
Yeah.
And there was a man, he was known locally as God in the Bottle. He used to live there, but it was a tin hut.
That's right.
And it was like puddles of water everywhere. But we used to tug out there on a Sunday morning,
yeah.
and we often walked in there on Sunday mornings where he was still in bed.
That's right. Yeah.
And
Eddie, I'm old enough to remember that myself, because I was over there. The mud floor. But, that field now you're talking about would literally be where the new playground is now. That's kind of where you're playing there.
Exactly,
where the playground
that was the pitch.
Yeah.
We had some great games there and great time. And even in the summers when there was no league on, the whole town would play. There was about 50 aside there every night in the fine evenings. It was a brilliant pitch.
Yeah.
We've moved on a bit from there.
Yeah. What was your first pitch, Eugene?
First pitch?
All
the town park,
In we'll call it the top field above, was it?
In the park?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the top field.
The newer field, we'll call it in the town park. Yeah.
My memories go back, When I first started getting involved in soccer, my first love of soccer was the 83 Cup final.
Right.
United, and Robson and that was my love. Started my love affair with United and soccer, and then on to playing as a 9-year-old. There was town leagues, we used to have town leagues. Jim Power and Mikey and all them used to run them, and so they were great,
Yeah. But the club, I suppose, going from, as you say, very humble beginnings, the club has just grown and grown over the years.
Bigger, with the population locally, of course, too, getting bigger. Like today, we've kids some 6 years of age now coming down here every week, training, and it's at that time when we started, we used to meet up in front of the post office. To go to the matches, but we might have 7 or 8 players, and we'd have to do a tour around to pull a few fellas out of certain establishments trying to put a team together. But we've gone from there now where we've I don't even know how many teams we have at the moment. It's gotten so big,
Eugene, Eddie was saying about getting fellas out, the boots coming out of the bag from the week before, that kind of job, that kind of day is gone.
Jesus, So I mean, the boots. I mean, you said boots would want to last you a while.
That's right.
You weren't getting a new pair every day or every week or.
But the training now, even whether it be hurling, football, soccer, it's a different sport now.
Different, and look, the facilities, the club. I mean, the facilities of the club now was unbelievable. We used to train out here in the park under one set of lights. Every team trained in one area, out here in the deer park, and there was one set of lights there. And it was a mud back. It was a mud back, but
if the ball went 20 yards beyond, you were in the dark.
You were, but I wouldn't change it for anything.
No.
It's just
right. If you remember, our dressing room out there was a chip van. Mick Reagan's chip van. Mick Reagan sold us his chip van. I don't know why we bought it, and we used that to tug out in. And I mean, there was holes in it. But in a winter's day when it's pouring rain, it was better than nothing,
Right. Look, we're going to talk to some more lads in different locations throughout the facility here. So we leave it at that, and we'll come back again.
Hi everybody, welcome today to Tim Fitzgerald Park here in Charleville in a fine cold morning. I have Brian Fitzgibbon and Mikey Curtin here beside me. I suppose first, Brian, better known as Hoggy by the way, just in case somebody gets confused. I normally call him Brian. Hoggy, can you just tell me a bit about when this whole ground opened recently over the last 20-30 years and kind of how it's come to this day?
Yeah, well, I suppose we started off playing in the town park, as the lads were saying earlier. It was around 1998. The grounds weren't properly ready down here, but we got to the semi-final of the Munster Junior Cup that year, and we got a home draw against Greenmount Rangers. But the rules at the time were you had to have an enclosed ground. This wasn't enclosed at the time, so it wasn't ready for opening really. But the lads did a lot of work just to get it playable for the day, so that we did have a home draw. So we were able to play here. So the first actual match played here was Munster Junior semi-final, and unfortunately we lost 1-0.
Oh dear, very sad. My first memory after coming back to Charleville again was the 1999 team that won the TSB Cup. Can you tell me a bit about that?
I suppose we got promoted in 1998, so we went up Premier, or it might be 97 actually, and 1999 then we were just lucky enough to win the TSB Cup. But that team would have started off probably playing minor together, and the following year then you'd have had about 7 straight onto the first team. So that bunch of lads, they were together for a long time, so the TSB was probably the biggest thing that we would have won then.
I suppose if you could let the people know that the players that were on it. I remember Eamon Fitzgerald, Mike Sexton, yourself, Froggy, and can you name that team if you remember it?
Yeah, Gerald O'Brien was in goal, very very quiet fella. It was Chris Coffey, Gerard Graney, Mike Sexton, John Martel, Eamon Fitz. You had Sean, my brother, Froggy. You had James Foley, Brian Foley, Tom Stack. You had Ross Foley involved, Paul Moffat. That's kind of the most of them.
That was a serious team there. You named some serious players. I hear Paul Moffat had an attempt. I heard some of you here are playing the over 40s here on Wednesday night. I heard Paul Moffat had a bit of an attempt to join that thing, but it didn't work out. What happened there?
We played just an over 40s every Wednesday night on the pitch. Sure, I think you played yourself one night. I think you got injured, did you?
I did. I lasted for about 40 minutes and that was the end of it, so it was a shock career.
But Paul Moffat played a few nights, alright, but the cramp got him again. He was there. I think he was there about 40 seconds one night, and the hamstring was gone, so that finished him again. Then.
Yeah, I heard the rumour has it that he actually got cramped doing his maths exam and he's leaving. It's unbelievable the man suffered such from cramp. I suppose there's a massive setup now, Huggy, with the underage and everything, and I heard the boys mention it earlier, but can you tell me a bit about what goes on here and how the underage scheme is working here?
Yeah, I think the numbers at the moment, there's roughly 400 members, I think, in the club, but out of that there'll be over 300 in schoolboys and schoolgirls, up to under 16. Like you'd have on a Friday night, Eddie was mentioning there's under 6s, under 7s and under 8s. When that started off, it was all together, there was just one group for the little kickers, but because of the numbers now, there's nearly 100. It has to be split into ages, so you've under 6s, 7s and 8s. So every Friday night there's the bones of 100 kids running around, and that's just the schoolboys. You've the girls side then as well.
Yeah, that's unreal. And are a lot of the former players involved in this? Is there a few coaches involved that come up through the club through the years?
Yeah, you'd probably have a lot of parents involved then as well. You know, there might be lacking numbers for coaches, but I suppose the ideal scenario is to have ex-players involved. But geez, any parents that are involved are doing a great job. And so the good thing about the club at the moment, like the club is progressive in that it's actually coaching the coaches now as well. Whereas before it was someone is over an under 12 or 14 team. Here you go, there's the gear and do your job basically for the year. But now there's actually courses on where the club are getting the coaches coached, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So it's just better for the schoolboys and schoolgirls. But like the thing about it now, when we started, it was either under 10s or under 12s. Like they're starting now at under 6s. So all the current schoolboys and schoolgirls are getting 4 years of a head start on when we started. So you know, by the time they get to under 10s, they'll have all the basics right. So it'll be good for the club in future.
Brilliant. And finally, Brian, I suppose to mention the one player we can't leave out, Dominic Foley. Can you just tell us a bit about that and how he's still involved with the club?
Yeah, Dom was actually first team manager there until recently, but Dom would have started off at our age. We won a minor league, and that was Dom's last season before he went over, and I think he scored something like 65 goals in the season. So there's no wonder the clubs are coming looking for Dom then. So he's kind of the first man from the club to make a proper living out of it abroad and represent his country. So that was the start of that.
Brilliant. Listen, thanks very much, Brian. I'll pass over to Paudie again now, maybe tell a few words up Mikey. Thank you. Thanks, Brian.
Hi lads, we're here with Mikey Curtin. Mikey, you've been involved with the soccer for a long time now.
Yeah, probably too long, I suppose, not at this party at this stage.
Would you care to say, Mikey, how long you're
well, I remember going to the AGM in 68. That was my first involvement in it.
Yeah.
And then I think there was, like Eddie mentioned earlier, that we had a town league which Tommy Lane started.
Yeah.
Tommy used to referee the matches, and he and it was kind of Harrison's place in Holy Cross against probably Brahal and Mannixville in those areas where a lot of the lads were, and they kind of divided it up, you know.
Yeah.
But
of course, you'd fellas from the Landon, from Kenny, or from Brahal and Mannixville. That would have
you
been.
Had.
Yeah, you know, there was a strong interest in those two places, like.
Yeah, in the town. Like I know the GA was in town at the time, but you know, like the soccer in a sense was kind of a different time in the season, you know.
Yeah.
And lads had plenty of time that time.
Right.
You know.
Right.
We hadn't a whole lot to do.
No.
But
I suppose there's probably a game as well that was after kind of coming back from England too after the war, maybe, and people
yeah.
in England, maybe in the army or whatever, they were bringing it back too, and you know the interest in it, you know.
I would say the local junior team, when they started up that time as well, like you had a lot of lads who would have been in England, they'd come home for the summer and they'd end up playing.
Yes,
like Gerard Madigan now, Gerard, you know, Gerard won a junior international with Ireland.
That's right.
And I'd say probably probably the best soccer player I would have say anyway that came out of Charleville Park, maybe from Dom. Dom went on obviously to earn money at it, but Jordan could have done it as well.
Right.
But Jordan was good at all sports.
He was good at
natural, rugby, soccer, whatever it was, and GA as well, you know.
Was it Cork Hibs he played with?
Cork Celtic.
Celtic.
Cork Celtic, you know. Like I said, he could have, if he wanted to push himself, but he didn't. But as I said, he would have probably been the best around at that time, you know.
Right.
You have a lot of lads there like Joe Cole, now as you would know as well. Ali Dwyer, who was passed away.
All the Spuds, Ali Dwyer.
All those. Spud Leahy, I played with some when they were in their career, obviously, and I was probably starting. But
I suppose like any club, Mikey, you mentioned names there like Tommy and Ali and all them lads. Every club started somewhere, and I suppose we can't forget all the boys that came along. They kept the club going through lean times, you know, whether by helping out or managing or, you know, just being there, like, you know.
Well, like Eugene mentioned there, and Eddie about the town park, like the old pitch was just inside the entrance there where the playground is now. And then we moved over to the top pitch, but in between we played in the Railway Road. Leahy's in the Railway Road for a few matches. And we played out here next door in Maloney's for as well. Until such time as eventually ended up here then with Timmy and Hoggy and all the Eddie and all those, Eugene and Dave Shanahan. And Dave Sheehan.
Do you remember they played above in O'Connor's Farm as well?
I do. I remember putting up the goals for it. We played one match there. You remember that? You do.
I played there, Mikey. It was the coldest game I ever played in my life. I'd say. Do you remember?
I do.
So as you say, like the club was moving around anywhere they could get a field.
Basically,
and the farmer might say, "Geez, I need it now for next year and have to move on again."
Until we moved back into the park again and kind of got squatters' rights there, really. I suppose, you know. Enough that way. You know, so
that was a good field, though. The top field above the park was.
Without a doubt. We had 7-a-sides probably in the early years as well. And I'd say it was probably they came from everywhere. Every part they came out from Limerick. We actually had a 7-a-side team, myself and Eddie and Brendan Dillon and a few more guys, Johnny Fitz, Dave Sheehan. We actually played a team that came out from Limerick. Dave Corbett, he had a shop here in town and he brought out nearly all League of Ireland players.
Right.
And we played them in the finals, so that was probably big occasion to us, plus, you know.
The 7-a-side during the festival was huge, wasn't it? It was huge. We
had it for years there, Joe Cabinet tournament, so, you know.
And just you mentioned there about Gerald, they potentially could have played. Dominic, we know. Of course, Tony.
Tony Whitehead, and then you had Cathal Naughton in between. Cathal went to Forest.
That's right,
Martin's club, so.
That's right,
But
so the club is producing quality players, and I suppose something get better. Like.
It's tougher now because like it's completely changed. Like even I'd say for parents and that, like to bring in kids to matches and everything, and they're playing too many sports anyway. We're struggling in a sense to try stay with the other clubs around the town. You know what I mean? We're lucky in the sense that the lads are committed.
Yes.
And I mean, most of the lads we have now at junior level, they've all played from 10s and 12s up. And they're still with us, you know, which is good.
Which is great,
You know, so.
And like, I suppose you'll have fellas through underage and then you get them to 18, 19. College comes along then and then they're away for college or they're away working and, you know, you lose players.
Exactly, that's what's happening now, really, you know, so.
And then sometimes they come back, you know, then they get settled and they come back around and they fall back in again,
Like Hoggy said there about, we have a lot of junior players which have gone through our hands in the last 20 or 30 years, and you'd be hoping that they'd come back and get involved in the club somewhere or another, you know, even if it's only at schoolboy level, you know. Because it is tough to get volunteers at the moment, you know. So.
All right, well, Mikey, thanks very much.
No, thanks.
And thanks for all the service to the club down through the years.
No bother, thank you.
Right, everybody, I suppose we were talking, in Charleville Soccer Club's own facility down there. Now, in collaboration with with who, Eddie? Who was the collaboration with, we'll say, to start this community complex?
Well, I suppose the history of it really is that as a club, we had been talking for years and years and years about having a proper training facility. Like we trained I jumped the wall of the GA pitch many nights with a few of the boys using the street lights. We used to run out to the railway road because there was lighting there. So we never had proper training facility. But Tim Fitzgerald had a big thing about it, and it was really a project that he was determined to get done. And that was to develop our own and originally it was to be an all-weather training surface, a small one. It started very small. It was supposed to be out there where the cars were parked, very small. But the more we looked into it, the more we saw possibilities to develop something bigger on a bigger scale that would be of more benefit to the community. So we formed Charleville Community Sports Complex Limited, very limited. We set it up as a limited company to arrange so we could get loans and funding and all that. And there's 4 directors. I'm one of them, and we were, if you like, tasked with building the complex and ultimately running it and looking after the financial end of it and all that. So it's here. What we did is we leased here, which was one of the grass pitches belonged to the club. So we leased this off the club and we acquired another grass pitch over there. So we have the facility here, which is a full size pitch, and then we have a 7-a-side smaller pitch down here. So as you can see here today, even it's been used. It's since the day we opened it, it's been used non-stop. It's probably the best thing we ever did, really. But it's a huge commitment. But it's been used by the whole community. Obviously the soccer club, but all the other clubs as well use it. The GA club use it, the rugby club, and the clubs even outside of Charleville use it as well. So it's definitely been a huge success.
I mean, if you look around the facilities, Eugene, as Eddie said there, it's not just soccer that's using this either now at the moment, is it?
No. You'd have other organisations using it. And fairness, like in the winter time, as far as it comes in handy for them, like in the bad weather, like, and if they want to use a full size pitch, it's here, like. I mean, it's second to none in terms of around this area, like. It's fantastic to have it, like, and then we've come a long way, in fairness, to have something like this in Charleville, like.
Brian, again, just following on to that as well, not alone soccer, but I suppose the GA boys are using it too, aren't they?
Oh, they are, but all the clubs in the area. It's not just Charleville. Like Kilmallock were here, I think, a couple of weeks ago. There's loads of clubs coming. But so just looking at it, like compared to the facilities from years ago, it shows you how progressive the club is. And like you have to look back at lads that were in the committee for years that that built towards this, like Tim Fitzgerald, as you mentioned. Mikey Curtin beside me, Eddy's been in committees for years, Bowlesy. You have to look at Dave Shanahan, Swanee. He's there for years. Jimmy Power. They gave their lives to the club as well. Dave Sheehan. And even more recently then we said like Eileen Queely O'Connell, she did great work for the club as well. But like none of this would be here without the work that they did for the last 20-30 years.
Mikey there, the names that have kept clubs going over the years, I suppose they just get lost in the realms of history, but they can't be forgotten. I
know exactly. Like as I said, we started off training, you might have one floodlight and a muddy pitch, and now you look at this today, but it didn't just happen overnight. That was all down to hard work that lads were doing for 30-40 years.
Absolutely. Mikey, you step in there a bit, Mikey. Again, you're coming back, we just even said the soccer are using it, the GA are using it, but there's matches being played here like from teams all over the country in there because they're meeting here in Charleville.
Oh, they are. I mean, it's central really. If you look at it, like we the villages around you, Brewery, Effin, even Kilmallock, Ballahey, Newtown, Milford, they've all been coming in here to support us, and even the athletic club in town are here at the moment. So we're lucky enough, like it's very central for Cork and Limerick really for matches,
So there's big school matches.
Oh, there is, the local CBS and St Mary's above, they play matches here as well. So we're lucky enough that way,
And I suppose, Eddie, I'll just come back to you. The pitch itself, it's state of the art because it's kind of what we call it, FIFA standard kind of a pitch.
It's the best that's available at the moment. We actually had an Irish under-17 team that played here, and I mean, to get games like that, the quality, it has to be certified to a certain level. So it's the best. It's the best that's around. And of course, with the floodlighting, then throughout the winter, it just means that we've games here all nights up to 9 and 10 o'clock. Some nights throughout the week, but it's active 7 days of the week. Like even today, being Sunday, it's busy. We're starting tomorrow. Monday we've a booking open at 4 o'clock and it'll go all the way through Monday night and for the rest of the week. So it's very, very busy. It's being used, which is great, but also like it means now that like those under 6s and 7s and 8s and up along, they're getting to play on a proper surface. They're not covered in mud. There's no games called off because of bad weather. But the skill level is better too.
Of course it is,
and you can see that with the lads now and the junior teams who have come up through the ranks and have spent a few years underage on that surface. The quality of football is better. Like
I just say, speaking of technically better, Martin, your own technical ability on the soccer field, how are you?
I was a 9 out of 10 up till about 14 years of age when I found out what a pool cue was in a pub. After that, and a bookie. After that, I lived a different kind of life, Paudie, from maybe 15 on. But I tried to come back, as Hoggy said there a few years ago, but my career ended with injury. But look, I gave it my all anyway. Another hamstring. And look, the one thing I never suffered from was what Moffat suffered, the old cramp, deadly man for the cramp. But look, I enjoyed my career up till about 15. After that, I took off in a different direction.
Right. I suppose just to finish up, it's about 2 or 3 years ago now, the facility was renamed. Who wants to take that one after, I suppose, the long time clubmen? Eddie, do you want to take the question? Who wants to take that one? Eugene, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, we sadly lost Tim in 1st of February, was 2015. And look, I mean, we obviously had to honour him. Tim's influence in this club was, I mean, everybody knows it. Like, I mean, he was ahead of his time for his vision for the club.
Yes.
He was always looking to how we can improve the club. The club meant everything to him. We had to honour him in a way, and the best way we thought was fitting was to rename the grounds.
Right.
So the grounds, we had a game here in 2017 in August. Was a mixture of Irish legends and against some of ourselves, like, and we are some Charleville so-called legends, and so that was a great day. It was a great day. I mean, that was late August. I can't remember the exact date. No, it was August 2017 and 23rd, I think, around, and we renamed the grounds and had a good do in the Park Hotel, and it was fitting for a man like Tim to have. We obviously.
Eugene, was he Charleville? But I mean, he went to
the so I mean, he was sure. Sadly, when he passed, he was chairman of the SFI. Like,
yes.
You know, so I mean, he was in the Limerick committee for a while. He was SFI, as I said. He was Munster Football Association, Schoolboy Football Association as well for the time, I think. Timmy, his influence was huge in football in general.
Yes.
I mean, when you see John Delaney coming down and making the speech he did inside the church that day of the funeral, like, and you know, he we wish he was still here. Obviously, all of us, but we had to honour him that time, and his legacy will live forever.
That's right. And what a legacy he's after leaving. Yeah, absolutely. Well, you all set, Martin? Are you okay anymore? Are you all good?
No, good.
You all good? Well, thanks very much to everyone, all the lads here in Charleville AFC for having us this morning, and all the best for the future and for the facility here. All right?